Hello and welcome back to the FPL Tom YouTube channel. In today's video we'll be covering the best captaincy options ahead of game week 35. In today's video we're going to look at 5 players you could give the armband to this weekend. Before we start the video, I'd just like to say a massive thank you to everyone who's subscribed to the channel over the past few weeks. We've been really growing and it's been great to see. Obviously we're trying to hit 100 subs before the end of the season. It would mean the absolute world to me if we can get there. I think we're only about 28 away at the time of recording, so any help that you can give me would be massively appreciated. So if you do enjoy today's video, please do subscribe, please do like the video, and tell me in the comments below who you are looking to captain for game week 35. My first potential captaincy option for game week 35 is a man that I've been waxing lyrically about all week pretty much, and that is KDB, Kevin De Bruyne. Absolutely scintillating against Watford and has been a key man for City over the past few game weeks. As you can see, 2 goals, 3 assists, plenty of chances created as well for Kevin De Bruyne over the past few game weeks. This season he's been on fire as well, which I think's gone a little bit under the radar. 11 goals, 6 assists in the Premier League. Highest scoring City player over the past 5 game weeks and the 3rd highest scoring player in the game generally over the past 5 game weeks. So you can see he's been very much on form in a City team that again have been very much on form. They take a Leeds team who are still in this relegation scrap. I think people are kind of forgetting it, that Leeds are still in this relegation battle. People are kind of just seeing it as a 2-horse race between Everton and Burnley. Leeds are definitely still in there and definitely could get sucked in. So they're still, got to be winning as many games as possible. And the reason that I've chosen Kevin De Bruyne as my first pick is a little bit of a differential, to be honest. He's only at 8.5% ownership, which I honestly couldn't believe. I did my research for the last video. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. We talked about transfer targets for this week, and Kevin De Bruyne was my first one. 8.5% ownership. Like, that is absolutely ludicrous for a player of his ability with the fixtures that City have got coming up. Leeds away, though, I think is going to be a little bit more difficult than people are maybe suggesting. Over the past 5 game weeks, Leeds have been 4th best for expected goals conceded. So as you can see, Jesse March has done some fantastic work with the Leeds defence over the past few game weeks. You can see that in the underlying data and the upturn within their results. It's not the same team that, City took on earlier in the season where Leeds were vulnerable under Bielsa at the back. They were very expressive in terms of their style and the way that they kind of leaked opportunities. It's not the same Leeds anymore, so I don't think City are going to have it all their own way. But off the back of an absolute demolition job on Watford, they're going to go into this game with a lot of confidence. My only concerns with Kevin De Bruyne is Champions League rotation. Obviously, Manchester City take on Real Madrid on Tuesday or Wednesday night. I imagine Kevin De Bruyne is going to start that game. If he didn't, that would be very strange and would definitely lean to me putting him maybe as my captain. But that is something that you should potentially look at with City. Obviously, they've got Champions League this week, and I believe they've got Champions League as well next week. So there is potentially going to be a little bit of rotation, and KDB could be dropped out of the starting lineup for the Leeds game. But City are in this title race. They're only 1 point clear at the moment. They need all the points they can get, and that is why KDB is my first captaincy option for this game week. It wouldn't be a captaincy option video if I didn't include this man. It is Mohamed Salah, obviously having an absolutely fantastic season, top goal scorer in the league, top assister now in the league as well, and I think that can show in his past 5 games. 2 goals, 3 assists, and a really high expected assists and big chance created for Mo Salah. He is turning a little bit of a provider at the moment. The goals haven't been coming as freely, but he is ticking over nicely, getting the assists. And he's always a captaincy option, regardless of who he's playing. And probably someone that I'm 99% sure is going to be my captain for this weekend. Obviously, the main reason behind that is just down to the fact that he's probably going to have an effective ownership of probably 100 or more. This week, I think it was about 129. So if you don't captain him and he does something, it's going to have disastrous impact on your rank. So there is always that to consider. But Salah as well has a pretty good record against Newcastle. Played 10 times against them, scoring 6 goals and 2 assists, and also scored the last time the sides met earlier this season. However, something to consider is the upturn in form from Newcastle since pretty much the end of January. Eddie Howe has done an absolutely unbelievable job. I know a lot of people have said potentially it's just down to the money. Yes, having better players will help you pick up more points, but then why aren't United doing so well? You know, that's kind of the argument you've got to go with. You know, you can spend this money, but then you also have to have someone who can actually execute a plan and put a team in place. But yeah, Newcastle looked a lot better going forward and at the back as well. Unbeaten in their last 4 games and only conceded 1 goal. I think they'll want to finish the season really strong. You know, kind of show the players who are at the club, you know, they want to prove that they should be here next season, because I imagine it's going to be another window of heavy transfer investment from Newcastle. So I think the players, they'll want to show what they've got, and they'll probably want to try and cause an upset. You know, if they beat Liverpool, they kind of put Liverpool on the back foot in terms of the title charge. Who knows? But for me, Salah's a really, really easy no-brainer. If you don't want to think about it, you know, you want someone who is probably going to score, probably going to get an assist this game week, you just go Mohamed Salah. Nice, easy captaincy option there. Let's move on to the next one. The third player on my captaincy options list is Cristiano Ronaldo. Over the past 5 game weeks, Ronaldo has scored 4 goals. This doesn't include the Chelsea game, as I'm currently recording this on the Monday, so the Chelsea game hasn't took place yet. He could be injured and this video could be absolutely redundant, or he could have absolutely smashed it and scored again. He seems to be the only kind of spark within a pretty poor United side. Pretty dreadful at the moment. United's highest scoring player, the 4th highest scoring forward over the past 5 game weeks as well, obviously behind like Jesus and all them. But yeah, he's on pens probably as well. That's something to consider. Obviously, Bruno's now missed 2 penalties, skying 1 and hitting the post against Arsenal. So yeah, Ronaldo's probably going to be on pens. He seems to be in good goal scoring form, and I think he'll want to prove himself and prove his worth to the new manager that's going to be coming in the summer, show him what he's about. And personally, I think he's just going to be looking to have a really strong finish towards the end of the season. Obviously, if we look at the fixture rating, it is green for Brentford. However, I do believe that this is a little bit questionable, to be honest. Brentford have only had 1 defeat in their last 7 games. In that run, they've beat Chelsea 4-2, and at the weekend had a 0-0 with Spurs. I definitely could see Brentford getting something out of this game. I've spoke about them in the last video I did, about how I've found it really interesting the way that Eriksen has come in and kind of brought the rest of the team to life. You know, really creative, creating opportunities, and they've just looked a much better team going forward and at the back as well. I think they've been pretty good all season in that regard. The only player that I could actually see performing for Manchester United, and probably wouldn't even, wouldn't be down to his like the team's effort, it would be down to his own individual ability, would be Cristiano Ronaldo. And that's why you could potentially consider Cristiano Ronaldo. But for me, I do believe that there are better options to target this game week. The next player that we're going to look at is HeungMin Son. Now, this could fit in the bracket of Harry Kane as well, if you do have Harry Kane, but I've gone with Son. I already had the graphic up, so a little bit lazy from me, but who cares? In the past 5 game weeks, 6 goals, 1 assist, massively overperforming on his expected goals. And yeah, Tottenham, disappointing in the last 2 games. Obviously, no shots on target in their last 2 against Brighton and Brentford. That's not something you want to see when you're potentially looking at captaining an attacker. However, I do believe that this can't go on. It's not a trend that's going to continue. I do believe that they will beat Leicester, and there are some big factors behind that win. Obviously, Leicester play in the Europa Conference League on Thursday. That is where all their main attention is going to be. That is where they're going to be putting all their eggs in that basket, strongest 11. And then they also play the following week in the Conference League. So there's going to be rotation for this Spurs game. They kind of, to them, the Premier League's kind of redundant at the moment. The Europa Conference League is where they want to be focusing, where they want to be targeting. And you don't blame them, to be honest, because if they win that, they get back into the Europa League. That can allow them to, further increase their transfer budget, their transfer revenue. So that obviously, you know, that's why they're going to be targeting that. So for Spurs assets and Spurs players, this fits Son and Kane. This is like a massive, massive tick in my head, and like, you know, why we should be potentially looking at not even selling them and captaining them is down to the fact that this Leicester team is going to be heavily rotated. They just come off the back of a huge game in the Conference League. You know, Spurs looking to bounce back. This, to me, just, it seems like all the stars are aligning, and it could be a massive, massive haul for Spurs players. Could go the absolute other way, but for me, it just seems like the stars are aligning with this one. So if you do have Son, if you do have Kane, it definitely could be worth a little bit of consideration if you are going to captain one of these players. Something to note with HeungMin Son, though, is he has failed to score in the last 4 games against Leicester, so maybe just take that into consideration. That is something I always look at. Does a player have a favourable record against teams? Son doesn't. I know Harry Kane does. So if you do have Kane, maybe something worth to consider. But yeah, just take it into a little bit of consideration. Come up with your own thoughts and feelings around it. But let's move on to the next player. The final player that I'm going to recommend for captaincy this week is Mason Mount. Like I said, with the Ronaldo one, this is being filmed on a Monday, and I don't know the result of the Chelsea game. If Mason Mount's played a full 90 in that, I would definitely not consider him a captain for the Everton game. I could see a lot of rotation happening in that. However, Mason Mount over the past 5 game weeks, 2 goals, 2 assists, and yeah, it was a little bit of a disappointing performance from Chelsea at the weekend, but I still believe from watching the highlights, Mason Mount, you could definitely tell he was at the heart of the creativity for Chelsea, but you could tell that there were key players missing. You could tell, I think there was part of the game where he was looking for a run from the right wing back, who was Loftus-Cheek this game, and you could just see that like the connection wasn't quite there. So I think that's hindering Chelsea's attacking ability. So that is something to consider, the amount of injuries that Chelsea have got. Obviously, the plethora of players that can kind of play in these similar-ish positions. You know, the Havertz, the Werners, the Mounts, Pulisic, who scored, Lukaku as well, obviously won the penalty that Jorginho subsequently missed. So you got a lot of players in this position, but Everton have only kept 1 clean sheet in their last 5 games. They're now in the relegation zone. They're going to be getting desperate. You know, you could see it in the Liverpool game. Anthony Gordon decided he wanted to flop around like a fish most of the game and dive and try and win penalties and try and do anything. Everton are getting desperate, and this is a huge game for them. You know, they've got to start picking up points soon. This could be an area where Chelsea look to exploit or rotate. It's kind of one of them. I believe if you have Mason Mount in your team, you brought him in for this game week, just keep him. It's definitely a consideration, but not one that I would personally recommend myself. However, if you're feeling a little bit bold, or you just like Mason Mount, then he is definitely worth a consideration this week for the captaincy. Finally, if you did enjoy today's video, please do smash the like button. Please do subscribe to the channel. Like I said, we're trying to hit 100 subs before the end of the season, and it would be absolutely marvellous if we could hit it. And finally, good luck with this game week. Let me know who you're captaining down below in the comments. And yeah, just have a good game week. Let me know. I'm actually really interested to see. Personally, I'm going Salah. However, I could be swayed late on if other factors come into play. But let me know down in the comments below, who are you captaining for game week 35?